Remember your old childhood SNES games? Well, get ready to begin the long journey again with the latest title from Tom Hap, Axiom Verge. Now, developed by just one dude over 5 years, Axiom Verge is a remarkable feat. Not only because Tom did all the art, music, programming, and design himself, but because the game is fucking good. Now, it's damn near impossible to talk about Axiom Verge without also having to discuss Metroid, Nintendo's legendary exploration-heavy action series. Now, this is a game that wears its affection for Metroid on its sleeve, which is a good thing. And surprisingly, it doesn't feel like a one-to-one ripoff. You can feel the inspiration in every pixelated corridor, the backtracking, the tough bosses, and the strange world you're on. But this game also has plenty of its own ideas. Now, you play as Trace, a strange-looking scientist who, after an experiment goes explosive of course, wakes up in a strange alien world that looks something out of the depths of EA CEO Andrew Wilson's worst nightmares. No, not that nightmare. Something that's actually fucking original. Now, the world is a strange biomechanical place filled with weird monsters that Trace must battle. The story is pretty minimal, but I guess it draws you in a little bit to the cool, strange world. Honestly though, I didn't really care that much for the story. It wasn't the narrative that kept me pushing on, it was actually finding new bosses to fight, new power-ups, and cool new weapons. Speaking of weapons, there's a huge variety in this game as well. You start off with a standard one-shot weapon called the Axiom Disruptor, quickly getting a second gun with projectiles that explode into shards after pressing the fire button for a second time. And now your gun collecting addiction has just begun. From there you might find a lightning gun that locks onto nearby targets, or an ice gun that shoots tons of tiny shards but has very limited range, or a gun that acts like a shotgun but with electricity. Now, some of the weapons help you traverse the world, and many of them seem mandatory to progress throughout the game. You also can find health upgrades, damage boosts, range upgrades, and projectile size upgrades as you explore. The game really likes to hide its secrets in a number of really interesting ways. There are other tools to discover that make navigating Sudra possible. A laser drill lets you plow through rock and some tough-skinned enemies, revealing new pathways and potential secrets. Eventually, you'll find a grappling hook that allows you to swing from ceilings and cross large gaps. Now, like in Metroid, you can sneak through small little tunnels that you find. Not by morphing into a ball. Rather, you find a drone that can do the exploring for you. It has its own life bar and some fairly weak firepower, and while it's out and about, you're turned invincible inside a little force field. Quick press of the button and the drone dismantles itself, zipping back to your location. Eventually it becomes a remote teleportation device, allowing you to warp to its location. One tool stands out as the most unique of the lot, the Address Disruptor. This device can corrupt enemies or repair glitched platforms and allow you to jump on them, while other times it clears paths and gives you access to a secret area. The most interesting application, however, is using it to transform enemies. Every enemy has a different reaction to the Address Disruptor, and it's critical to pay attention to how each enemy is affected. An enemy that spawns laser-firing bugs may suddenly spawn life energy once you corrupt it, while another might start to gnaw away at rock, which you can use to your advantage when trying to access hard-to-reach areas. There are dozens of different behaviors associated with the Address Disruptor, and it's easily one of the more interesting tools I've seen in gaming. Now let's talk about my favorite part of this game, bosses! Now, bosses in Axiom Verge are generally a memorization game, often taking you generally 2 or 3 times to complete. They often launch huge volleys of attacks that can drain your health from full to empty very fast. So the trick to these bosses is learning on how to avoid said attacks. Like this one boss shoots lasers from his eyes and little bomb type things from his lower half. So you have to figure out which part you want to deal with first. I personally choose to kill the laser off first, then went on to destroying the remaining parts on the head, and then I jumped down to deal with the bombs. It took me 3 tries before actually getting it, and man did it feel good when I finally did. Now, a good thing is, checkpoints are generally close to the boss room, which cuts down on some of the frustration. However, the trial and error wasn't particularly fun. It's not Dark Souls level of frustrating, that's for sure, but I did feel a little bit while I was going through the game. Like most other games in its class, Axiom Verge is a game about getting items that grant you access to more parts of the world. Can't jump high enough? Well, shut up! Keep exploring, and you'll be able to jump higher. Now, your mobility can greatly increase in the game. From the drones we previously mentioned, to teleporting and some other really cool mechanics. The way you move around lets you access more new areas, whether it's figuring out inventive ways to move through solid walls, or finding a way to fit through tighter areas. Trace's movement is very responsive. However, I did find shooting diagonal was a bit challenging. I thought for the first hour of the game you had to constantly keep moving while shooting up to shoot diagonally. But I figured out that you just have to hold either right or left bumper. I can't remember right now because I'm fucking terrible at writing scripts. Anyways, I played this game on the PC, but I did not actually use a keyboard and mouse, so I have no idea if the controls are actually done right on the PC. The game does let you know when you load it up that it is preferred to play with a controller, so that's what I did, and that's what I recommend you guys to do. Otherwise, besides that tiny issue, the game is very solid and feels like it was built and play tested by an entire team, not just one guy. I give this game a solid 8 out of 10. Axiom Verge joins the likes of Shovel Knight, 1001 Spikes, and other great games that don't just borrow the aesthetic from retro games, but understands why they work so well as actual games. There is a certain confidence in the design that channels the best part of successful Metroidvania games, and it is definitely joining my list of favorite games.
Hey guys, this is Muth, and I totally fucked up and deleted my ending scene, so I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching this episode of the Indie Critic, and I'll see you guys on the next installment of the Indie Critic. Thanks for watching.